Now to some major developments in Donald Trump's power grab. As some corporations bend the knee to Trump, Trump's FCC approving the $8 billion Paramount Skydance merger just days after Skydance vowed to end DEI policies and hire someone to look into, quote, complaints of bias at CBS News. The FCC's lone Democratic commissioner speaking out on MSNBC today, raising concerns about how all of this has played out.
We are seeing is a weaponization of the FCC's regulatory authority to retaliate and to control the content of news media organizations. What this administration was able to get was a condition that has never before seen control of editorial decisions in the newsroom content. And that is very problematic. Our First Amendment prohibits the government from interfering in freedom of the press. And that is a direct violation of our First Amendment freedoms.
The Times characterizing this as, quote, using the levers of government power against the news industry. Trump letting the public know he's actually getting even more out of the deal than we all initially thought, saying he'll receive an extra $20 million for advertising and PSAs from Paramount on causes that matter to him. We've seen this before. Give Trump an inch and he's gonna take a mile. FCC Chairman Brendan Carr ominously previewing future, quote, consequences.
Did you want to see the Colbert Report go away in order to approve this deal? Was that part of the decision?
Well, look, it's clear to me that Colbert doesn't have it anymore.
Is The View now in the crosshairs of this administration?
Look, it's entirely possible that there's issues over there.
We're going to continue to see consequences over the coming, months and years as this industry sees a pretty big, reshuffle take place.
Very telling. All of this raising questions now of just how far the administration is going to go, which has already been farther than Trump's first presidency. This time, he's making good on promises of targeting political rivals, some of his critics and Democratic leaders now facing federal probes, also intimidating law firms, universities, and of course, media networks into accommodating his agenda or paying up. One former Biden administration official writing in the Times, quote, American institutions are under attack and experiencing a new sense of trepidation. Fear is the universal tool of authoritarians, and it is a clear sign that our democracy is in danger, that so many Americans now have reason to fear their government. Joining me now is the author of that op-ed, Frank Kendall, who served as former Air Force Secretary in the Biden administration. Secretary Kendall, thank you for being here. What inspired you to write this op-ed now, and where are you most concerned fear is taking hold?
I think it's almost universal. I wrote a piece back in February, and I said at that time that America had a rogue president. Nothing has changed that view. And the abuse of power has just manifested itself in so many ways over the last several months. It's essentially the weaponization of all the powers of the executive branch to compel behaviors that the president seems to want. Now, you just talked about it with the FCC. In my entire history, being in and out of government, no one's ever been afraid that the government was going to use powers that were irrelevant to whatever issue was at hand to force behaviors that are consistent with the political views or the priorities of the government. That's just never even been something people considered. Here we are, and we're seeing it everywhere. I mentioned a few communities. I mentioned the national security community that I'm very intimately connected with. Legal community, I'm also a lawyer, universities, industry, it's everywhere. And essentially what we're seeing for the first time in, I think, American history is a government that is willing to use any lever that it has to compel people to do what it wants them to do.
What was it like for you to hear some of the clips we just played there, Brendan Carr at the FCC, in reaction to reporters' questions about who they might essentially target next? Were you surprised that he left the window open so obviously?
No, I'm not surprised by anything like that comes out of this administration. They're trying to let people know that if you don't play ball with us and do what we want, you're going to pay the price for that. And you're going to do it with any of the tools that we have available to inflict pain on you. And that's what we're seeing.
I want to ask you, too, I don't know if you've seen the news about the legendary painter Amy Sherald. She, this week, announced that she's canceling her upcoming Smithsonian show, which for all artists, I feel comfortable saying, is a lifelong dream to be able to have a museum survey of that kind. She made the decision after she learned that one painting of hers that was part of the show that depicts a transgender woman as the Statue of Liberty might have to be removed because of fear of the Trump administration's reaction to that work. And in a statement, she said, "I cannot in good conscience comply with a culture of censorship." For an artist to give up a show like that in the Smithsonian, a landmark lifetime achievement for a painter like her, what does that tell you about the moment we're living in?
It just emphasizes what I said earlier. It's a climate of fear. It's used for intimidation. It's suppression of free speech, suppression of the press. I think people have got to start to recognize this and start to do just what Amy did and say, we're not going to put up with this. We're going to take steps. And unfortunately, it can mean some self-sacrifice. What I'm seeing very, very commonly is institutions who are saying, well, I'm going to just comply and be quiet and then nothing bad will happen to me. I'm not going to put my business at risk. I'm not going to put my nonprofit at risk. I'm not going to put my own income at risk. I think a lot more Americans are going to have to get past that and realize that there's much, much more at stake here. The future of our democracy is at stake here.
Are you surprised that it's independent artists, people like a painter or the creators of certain television shows or comedians late at night who seem to have a backbone, and it's not corporations with millions and billions of dollars that are putting up a real fight right now?
I think there are a lot of people with courage in this country, and they need to stand up wherever they are.